AI Picks Podcast, episode 3. We're here, guys. We've done it. 3 episodes. How exciting is that? We're basically, we can stop now,
We made it.
I think we're done. We're done with this movie podcast. I feel like there's a chance, just because I know Barrett. Barrett, did you know we dropped our first episode? Did you know it went live? Oh,
I
you did? Okay.
just I looked it up. I was like, oh, look.
A week later, Barrett realizes we got the podcast.
I subscribed and I rang that notification bell. I thought that was.
Did you smash it? It's required to smash it, not ring it. Yeah, that's
Barrett seems to be like the polar opposite of us. Me and you were like seeing how many views we have like within an hour or two. Barrett just barely realized we went live. I love it. It's a good juxtaposition. I love it.
We got some comments though, Carrie. We got some comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk
so
about
we should talk a little bit first. So there's a little lag this time because we're going to be traveling. So we're actually going to be talking about comments from 2 episodes ago. In the future, it won't be that laggy. But I will say we had some comments on our Blade Runner episode, which I couldn't figure out what to title. So AI titled it. I figure it's suiting, right?
It's
AI made the thumbnail. AI
appropriate.
titled it. We just let AI do everything.
We want to get in good with them while there's a chance.
If there's anything I've learned from the recent movie selections, it's that AI is the Lord.
Yep, exactly. It will take us out if we don't behave.
So Bill Z Beer why are their names so hard? Bill Z Bear Memories said, "Great show. Kevin looks different without a hat in his basement." There's a deep cut that no one understands. Dave, I agree that the book is always better than the book. I think he meant the movie. I think it made you love the movie more because you knew the background. Your input is making me watch it again. Thank you. I agree with that. When it comes to Blade Runner, I had read the book many times. And then I remember watching it and not finishing it, like years after I read the book. And then I went and read the book again, or listened to it. Same thing. Same thing. And then I watched it, and I feel like it did make me enjoy the movie a lot more. Carrie was down there hating it because he had no context. But
it helped.
I
think the podcast helped me understand a little bit more. I mean, the book made it much more interesting. Like I said, as simple as my observations were, like it was a moody space cop, trying to kill all the robots or whatever. That's kind of what it felt like, because there was no real, I didn't have any affection towards the guy. He seemed just kind of like annoying a little bit, but there was cinematically, it was beautiful.
Yes.
So
okay. So I liked Tammy Chaffee's comment. I'm bad at this.
Yeah.
Tammy Chaff said, I never knew how movie stupid I was until watching this podcast, which I kind of liked, and now I'm needing to watch this movie, and I'm looking forward to your next podcast. So we weren't trying to be all movie smart. We just got into the book discussion, which made us sound smarter than we probably are.
It's just 2 Emmy Award winners and somebody who doesn't have an Emmy, and we're not going to say who.
Can you go back and get the degree in acting just so you can at least have something?
It's a minor. I got to do a lot of classes to get to get an actual degree. I'm 2
I don't know the
classes away
difference
from the
between
minor.
a minor and a major.
I don't know either, honestly. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to get a job with either. So in acting, so I think I'm good.
My lack of schooling makes up for my accolades. So.
There we go. We're leveling each other out.
Yeah, we're evening each other out. All right, we'll read one more comment from Joe Childress. I so love this discussion of Blade Runner, one of my favorite movies. It's what brought me to the channel when Dave mentioned the channel. I'm so glad he could explain the book because I read the book back when I saw the movie for the very first time, and I did not see any connection between the two. In fact, I hated the book even though I wanted to like it as much as the movie, but I never got any of the connections about the animals or anything like you mentioned. Now I want to go read the book again. Also, I used to own the director's cut and I didn't like it as much as the movie release, but it may have had more of a connection with the book. Thanks guys, can't wait for the next one to see how much Dave likes 2001 and his namesake in it. And see, this is the whole thing we taled about, Space Odyssey and my namesake.
When you see this, you'll know what Dave thought.
Yeah, I did. I realized my namesake, Yeah. Hello, Dave.
Hello.
Yeah.
There's a glitch.
Yeah, I like that aspect about it, how you got to sort of see more out of life.
It brought me joy to see a robot trying to murder your namesake. It brought me joy. Too much joy.
Yeah. So that's good. Let's move on to this week's movie video.
Movie video.
Network.
VHS cassette.
Network. Starring Jesse Eisenberg, is that his name?
As himself, I think. I think he's just playing himself.
Yes. Barrett, did you get to watch it?
I did, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
how did you get it?
Important.
Did you Netflix it? It was on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. It's on trending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's handy.
Yeah,
That's handy.
yeah.
Thank you,
It was quite handy.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Well, I must say, first of all, it's quite a difficult third act to follow after these two films that we've already watched.
It is.
Need to put it out there.
It is the polar opposite. The first, 6 minutes of 2001, nothing. Just darkness and nothing.
That's a great point. This one was like...
Yeah, within 6 minutes of Social Network, we have like a novel and a half of exposition because it's Aaron Sorkin, who loves
dialogue,
him. He loves him some Aaron Sorkin dialogue, as he should. It was... rapid fire, interesting.
Who's
I remember
Aaron
at the
Sorkin?
time watching it, loving it. Looking back, it's a little heavy-handed, but I dig it.
Who's Aaron Sorkin?
He's the
He's
writer.
the guy that. He's the writer.
He's also in the film.
He's in it. Yeah, he's one of the ad
producer
execs that they're trying to.
Ad exec. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's the one that did West Wing, that did all the kind of really snappy dialogue.
Okay.
He's known for his
It was
dialogue.
fast. It was so fast.
Yeah.
It was like Barrett said. It was kind of jarring because I don't actually have a ton of time to watch films right now, and so I really hadn't watched anything since we watched Space Odyssey. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's so fat. Like I couldn't even keep up with it. There were several times I was like, whoa, what just happened? Like
it kind of made me think of what we were talking about.
Fast.
I think last week about how I hated the idea of people watching movies at like 1.5x, but it's like if I were to slow this movie down to like
it would feel normal.
7.5x or whatever, it would feel normal. It was definitely crazy pace.
I have to say, this movie is like the ultimate. Oh, what's going on?
You didn't give the synopsis yet. Is this your
synopsis? Is just a nerd is getting back at his ex-girlfriend by creating a multi-billion-dollar social network, right? Is that basically it?
Cool.
That's what they want that to be about. But I lost my train of thought now.
Excellent. Well, I took it away. I stole it right from you. It's all right. I just wanted to go in that order. We were talking about the pacing, Carrie. We were talking about the pacing and the West Wing and how fast it goes. So, You can't find it? You can't find the thought?
I can't find it. I'll come back to it if I can.
You'll get it. No, so my instant reaction to like the storytelling method of like in the courtroom, out of the courtroom is I don't love that. I don't. I know it's like probably good artistically, but I would rather have just lived the story without the future parts. Is that weird?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think they could have done it without that for sure, 100%. Like I came back on that train of thought now. I finally did. Basically, like this movie is like somebody afterwards. You know how like after you have a debate or an argument with somebody, you think of all the perfect things you could have said to win said argument or to make yourself look intelligent in that argument or that discussion. Yeah. I feel like the writing in this is like the perfect things that people should have said in the perfect moments. It's so back and forth,
totally
and like all the zingers are just like spot on. It's actually like it's so perfect that it's kind of artistically beautiful, but also semi-unrealistic, which is, I think, part of the style of Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah. It's just sort of a decision or whatever on their part. But
an artistic
totally
decision.
Agree with that, though. It does feel like you've sort of compiled what's the very best thing to say in all of these kind of circumstances or whatever. And like you said, it's not like a bad thing. It's not a dig on the movie. It's just sort of, it's kind of is what it is. And it kind of, to be honest, like Sorkin-esque dialogue sort of like got a bit overplayed at a certain time, I feel like, and kind of it like aged a little bit poorly because of that. It's almost a victim of itself in some ways.
It's almost, do you guys remember Juno?
Yes.
The movie Juno, how it was very kitschy dialogue, very snappy and kitschy, and it was very much, looking back on it, like when we were living it, it was like, oh, this is cutting edge, and this is our generation or whatever, millennial stuff, and looking back, you're like, oh, wow, that's dated. Yeah, that's really
I haven't rewatched
cheesy.
That one in a long time.
That's a weird one to rewatch because it was so, the dialogue, I remember thinking, this is so cool and so different, and looking back, you're like, oh, man, that's just kind of a little lame.
Really?
Yeah, that one, like that film ages.
It didn't age
for
well.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. No, so I had to look it up because I saw the name David Fincher and that rang a bell, and so he makes a lot of good movies, like for real. Yeah. He did Fight Club.
Great.
He did Seven.
I love Fight Club.
Right?
Yeah,
what else did he do?
Zodiac.
I can't remember. I looked it up a couple.
Zodiac.
Yep.
I love Zodiac. Yeah.
So this guy has made some like really good movies. Gone Girl, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Game. I mean, he makes some good and honestly, like, okay, so he made Panic Room too, and Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and Alien 3. A lot of good movies. So I would say like I wanted, and I think it was the pacing. I didn't want to stop watching. Like I was hungry for more the whole film, which I think is a skill, right? Like a lot of me, especially I have like really bad ADHD, so it kind of moved at my pace in a sense that like I was like with the speed.
It was there.
Enjoyed the speed
for you.
Like like literally that I really enjoyed the thing I really enjoyed about it was the speed and how fast it was, and it made me like want it to keep going.
Yeah, to your previous sort of point about the jumping back and forth between the courtroom thing, it made me think of Oppenheimer, which is...
Dude, and I hated that about Oppenheimer. I hated that. Everyone loves it, but I hated it.
Okay, you love that, or you hated that about it.
I was about that about Oppenheimer.
Interesting.
What do you hate about it? Do you think it's like kind of like a crutch, a storytelling crutch?
Yeah, I just think it's like lazy storytelling. Like I can see that. I don't know if lazy is the right word, but it's not preferable to me. I'll say it that way.
I didn't think about this when I was watching the movie because I was just engrossed in it, which I was thankful for. That was a super engrossing movie, but I will agree in general. Like I way prefer it if I can stay with a character and kind of it's more immersive that way. I guess if that's the goal escapist. For it to be for it to be immersive, then it does seem to make sense to hang with them like that.
And I thought so with the Oppenheimer, like I struggled with Oppenheimer just because I went in with the way wrong expectations thinking that it was like literally going to show the bomb go off, the aftermath of the bomb. I thought it was much more about the actual war and the bomb, less about the creation of the bomb. And so I was really thrown off, but then you add in
the record, that is something that maybe only you thought. Like it's called Oppenheimer.
Well,
it's about him creating a bomb.
If you didn't read the synopsis, you just watched the trailer, and you didn't pay attention to any history classes, then you'd make my mistake.
So I didn't pay attention to any of the history classes, didn't watch any of the trailers.
Did you know who Oppenheimer was? I didn't even know who he was.
No, to be honest, I had heard the name, and but it's like I loved it.
I loved Oppenheimer.
But again, 100%. It's just like the Blade Runner thing. Like I like that feeling of just like drop me into something that kind of is like just moving and whatnot. And
I mean,
that was cool.
You can't get. I mean, I know this is off topic, but you can't really get much higher stakes than building a atomic bomb that could destroy the world. I mean, that's like a real world Marvel storyline, right? Like Marvel, every movie, it's like some new person's coming in that's going to destroy the universe again, and they'll find a way. This was actually a real thing, real life Marvel. Right. So
Barrett hated Marvel movies before it was cool to hate Marvel movies, but now Marvel movies are so bad.
They're
not
cool,
even watchable. He can't
now
even watch them anymore.
Now he wants to be on the cutting edge of liking the new ones.
Now Barrett likes
them. I love it. Too cool for school.
They've just like left storytelling in the dust on those movies. That's bad.
I feel like we'll let you in if you want to be a member of the club of people hating Marvel movies. Barrett, we'll let you in. Don't worry, man. We're all inclusive.
We hated them first. We started 3 years ago. 2019 is when we stopped liking them. So you definitely hated them from like 2012.
I think I was like, I was just sort of like getting a little like thinking they're long in the tooth when Iron Man 1 came out. And I was like, wow.
That was like the first big one.
It's like, right. I was like, aren't these sort of coming to a slowdown or something at this point? But I know a lot of people like those movies.
You were done after the Chris Evans Fantastic Four. You were done at that one. Rise of the Silver Surfer.
They need to make a good Fantastic Four movie, by the way. That's like
X-Men.
Never done a good Fantastic Four.
X-Men, please give me a good X-Men movie and give me a Gambit movie. Gambit's my favorite superhero
They had a couple
all
decent
time.
X-Men movie. I thought that Hugh Jackman did pretty well in the first few, but they need to
agreed.
The early 2000s or late 90s ones are very much products of that era, and I kind of liked the first of the new ones that they did, First Class.
I heard Logan was cool or whatever.
I heard
Logan was good.
That.
Logan was good. You would actually probably like Logan because
I think I would like. Yeah,
it's very depressing.
That sounds great. Would love it.
This podcast is very Social Network-esque. We're just popping, going in all different kind of directions.
That's fine. We're going where the conversation takes us. Social
Living
Network.
Our best selves.
Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but I left this film thinking that Mark Zuckerberg is a douchebag, like just a horrible human.
It doesn't paint him in a good light.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of what they were going for. Here's an interesting thing that I did some research on after. Do you know in the end credits where it talks about how many people were on Facebook? And this was 2010.
Oh, dude, I looked it up too.
Yeah.
This is the first thing I did is I looked all these numbers up. It's crazy.
Exactly. 2.9 billion users now, as opposed to 500,000, they said?
No, 500 million, they said.
500 million, yeah, sorry, not 500,000.
So just wait, in case people didn't watch it, at the very end, they give like a little like where they are now, but it was 2010. It's now 13 years later. Okay, go on, Carrie.
Yeah, and they said that they were worth $25 billion, which I remember thinking at the time, because I watched this movie. I was just graduating college. I was like, wow, $25 billion. I'd love to like have $2,500. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now they're worth
would like $2,500.
Yeah, I would love $2,500 just sitting there forever.
Venmo.
But it's worth now the evaluation, the latest one, I guess, or the stock price, or
market cap. It's called
market cap. There you go. There's the technical word. It's $864.27 billion. So almost $1 trillion.
Almost $1 trillion company.
Almost $1 trillion. Facebook,
Dude,
and it feels like Facebook is dying, but it apparently isn't.
Have you
ever Instagram and everything else?
Have you ever watched Silicon Valley, the show on HBO?
A little bit.
Carrie? It's a great show.
I'm afraid to admit I have not, but
dude, it's actually really good.
I should, etc.
So what's cool in that? It's very similar. The whole idea, like this whole thing, is very similar. But basically, he comes up with an idea, right? Much like Jesse Eisenberg, Mark Zuckerberg comes up with this idea, and it's an algorithm that does compression faster and better than anyone else, and it like beats the Weissman score. It's like the fastest compression ever. And this company Hooli, which is basically Google, goes up to the main character and says, "Hey, I'll give you $1 million for your algorithm." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do it." But then some guy calls him, this guy Peter Gabriel, and he says, "Hey, don't sell to them." No. Yeah, he said it's just another Bill Gates type wannabe thing. Anyways, he says don't sell it for $1 billion. I'll give you $100,000 for a 3% stake, right? So a way lower offer, but it's for a stake and a stake in the company, right? And so this guy on the phone is basically saying, yeah, you can sell it for $1 million to Hooli, but if we build it together, you can have $1 billion company. So much like the Social Network's Justin Timberlake character, which is the Napster guy, right? And
yeah.
I think it's really interesting, like that whole conundrum, right? And he ends up getting a $10 million offer, and the Peter Gabriel guy says, "I'll give you $500,000 and I want a 2% share," something like that, right? And he goes because it makes a more interesting show if he can try to build the company himself. So of course he takes the smaller amount of money, and the whole show is about him building the company around this idea he has. This basically Facebook the show, okay? Yeah. So all that to say, what would you do? If you had a Facebook level idea and someone comes and offers you $10 million to just buy it, or they offer you $500,000 for a 5% share, you got to build it yourself. Like, I feel
you're not building it yourself. Hopefully, you have a crew of. I would hire as many people that knew what the hell they were doing as possible, and I would build it myself. Is what I would do.
But it might turn into nothing. I would
totally take the cash and run.
I feel like I would take the cash too, because dude, how many of these
I don't want
fail?
to build Facebook though. Like I even if it was a guaranteed success to the same level or whatever, it's just sort of like, well, that's enough money for me.
$10 million.
It's sort of like, well, yeah, exactly. Like that's enough, and then
I'm good.
And it's just running that kind of company sounds like a total nightmare. Like, does anyone actually want to run a company like that? It sounds like really stressful. Like a terrible, stressful thing. Like, wouldn't it? Yeah, just make you go crazy every day. I don't know. Maybe
that was, I think, a really interesting part of this movie was the Mark Zuckerberg character is how gosh darn intelligent that guy was, but how easily manipulated he was at the same how much he was like just beholden to what people thought of him, and he didn't need to be. You know what I mean? Like he was just beguiled by that Sean Parker character in the movie. I'm not sure how much that's similar to the actual real life story.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of it's real based on what I looked
and
up.
You could feel the pain like when he was doing that stuff to Eduardo, like diluting his shares and everything, but it still didn't stop him from doing it.
Yeah, and I don't even understand really how he did that, how that works in business without, the guy must not have read the contract.
Here's the interesting thing.
Well, that was the scene. He didn't read the contract.
That
was like he came
Eduardo,
because he just assumed everything was cool and I'll sign this. Yeah.
I don't know how it worked out, but I looked at the net worth. Eduardo has, I think, like $18 billion.
Like $2.6 billion or something,
Yeah, he has a lot of money. Like, he has more than some of the people who weren't diluted, I believe. Or at least similar.
He has more money than the Napster guy. So from what I read, basically, somehow he reobtained like a 12% stake in Facebook. I don't know if that was through the settlement or if he just took the huge settlement he got from Zuck and bought in. But whatever it is, he owns like a very large portion of Facebook still, and that is where most of his net worth is coming from.
The Winklevosses got, for a time, this was Bitcoin rich, but they spent a lot of, they invested a lot in Bitcoin.
They own Gemini.
I remember hearing
they own Gemini.
They own Gemini, and at the height of Bitcoin, I mean, Bitcoin's still worth a lot more than what they paid.
Yeah.
But at the height of Bitcoin, I think they had like 10 plus. They had a lot of money, like billions and billions.
They're still billionaires. Yeah. So like everyone, I mean, I guess when it's that successful of a company, everyone within a throwing distance becomes a billionaire.
Yeah.
Like because this company is like revolutionized everything, but it's so dumb because it literally already existed. That's the part that blows my mind more than anything is this was no better than MySpace. And MySpace was out there. Literally the only sales pitch was, hey, this one is exclusive to colleges.
Yeah.
Like, why
I remember, I mean, MySpace, I feel like a lot of I know that looking back, it's kind of cringy, but I enjoyed like having music on my page, for example, like certain aspects of MySpace. Yeah, theming it. And Facebook just I don't understand exactly, looking back, I was a kid, I don't know exactly why Facebook won that battle, but they dominated for sure.
Okay,
I think it got to a certain point where it was almost like people's pages got so wild that it was like almost just socially acceptable to just have a Facebook page. Like it just sort of looks normal.
Maybe it was just simpler to get the information people wanted. Like
because it got to a point where people were posting like happy birthday, animated GIFs, and it was like 100 megabytes at the time of like animated GIFs, like clogging up your page. It wouldn't even load the page. Like I think it got kind of dire at some point, but
it was.
I love that the guy who started that is like still around, and I think
he's all our friend, good old Tom.
Good old
Tom, right?
Good old Tom.
I think I remember this
he's
happening.
Living the good life.
I remember me and Tina, right? And I remember her getting access to this new thing called Facebook. I literally remember it. I'm like, what are you on? She's like, Facebook. It's this new thing. I was like, how do I get on it? She's like, oh, you have to have an EDU. Do you remember your EDU address from college? Because we had gone to college for like a year. She still had hers. I had forgotten mine, lost it, whatever. I was like, nah, but I don't really care. I like MySpace. Like, this was literally a conversation in my house back in 2005. I literally remember this, or 4, whatever it was. It would have been 2004, early 2004. So like a year after the Facebook inception thing. But I just thought that was so crazy that like this thing that I wrote off became such a giant thing that it did. It's just wild to me. And I don't know why it was better. She liked it because she could like connect with all her friends from high school really easily, and she could see like how their college thing was going. I remember the relationship status was a big deal. Like, and they actually pointed that out in the film.
They did point that out. Why haven't you said we're in a relationship or whatever?
Yeah, that was well done in the movie. Because he was like being a part of Facebook, you should know better. Whatever. I don't know. It's just
I thought it was interesting because like it's one of those things you take for granted. And now I'm not in the dating scene. I haven't been. But kids nowadays, they never have to wonder, are they single? That's just not even a question. But I watch like Seinfeld, King of Queens, all these shows all the time, and it's always like, oh, is so-and-so single? Is so-and-so single? Find out if they're single. Like, that's just not even a thing with this generation. It's like, not only are they not single,
they kind of talked about that being like the major hook of Facebook was the relationship status and all these details and stuff. I mean, is it that simple? Or human beings that simple? That is the $1 trillion idea. That's basically the hook.
Probably.
Yeah. Because I mean, I found it fascinating. This whole movie, like the opening scene was very much, and I was trying to think deeply about this, and this may be not very deep, but I felt like it was like the id versus the ego the whole time, like a battle. And I think Mark was almost having it within himself, like the whole ego of trying to be practical about everything and figuring out how to make things work, but the whole. But he was always controlled by the id of saying like he wanted to be popular, he wanted to have girls, he wanted to have money. He was always led astray by that part of himself. And a lot of that happened even when like the Winklevosses were determining whether they were going to sue or not. And the one guy was very practical about it, the one twin, and the other one was like, no, let's kick his ass and take his money, Yeah. And then eventually the id, much like it did with Mark Zuckerberg's, whatever his name, Jesse Eisenberg's character, took over in the long run and ended up basically controlled it.
Now, this isn't a world where we remember what the id is. Can you
I had to Google it. The It is
software. They
kind
made
of
Doom and
Yeah, I remember.
Doom is great. Yeah, did they do Duke Nukem too? No, the It is like your baser self, like your animal instincts, I guess.
Okay.
It would be a way to put it.
It's
So
like
your
Freudian,
will for survival
psychology, yeah.
and reproduction
Gotcha.
and all the things that come. Because I mean, like everything in life, popularity, money. I mean, that all kind of. I think the natural way that takes you is towards being, able to survive, I guess. I don't know where.
Carrie is looking up id versus ego, and I'm like, I feel like these twins are the same
I'm taking
actor.
notes, man, because I want to.
I'm like, did they marry Kate and Ashley Olsen, this dude? And they did. It is the same actor. Did you know that?
Yeah, it is the same.
I had to
Awesome.
Google
Well,
it.
Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen are two separate people, Dave. I don't
That's
know
true.
if you
So
knew
it's the
that.
opposite of that, I guess. It's
Yeah,
the
this is
polar
the
opposite.
Army Hammer guy, the guy who we all know eats people.
Yeah.
He was in
He
this
eats
movie. There's like a whole thing. Go Google it, dude.
Oh, this sounds like a rabbit hole I'm traveling down tonight.
Yikes.
Army Hammer is the cannibal.
Just look up Army Hammer cannibal.
I'm just
Enjoy.
going to ask ChatGPT, is Army Hammer a
Dude,
cannibal?
are we really doing this?
I'll tell you what it says. I don't know.
It's 80%,
Yes, as of my last knowledge, there were allegations and controversies surrounding Army Hammer related to disturbing messages and behavior that had surfaced online. These
Allegedly. I
allegations-
want to be
It
clear
says
that this is all alleged.
These allegations did include references to cannibalistic fantasies. It's important to note that these were allegations and not resulted in any criminal charges. Wow, that's
Alleged.
weird.
This is all alleged.
He does kind of seem like the kind of guy, like the super buff guy. He's like, I bet human would make me stronger. People.
I'm 6'2" and there's two of me, and we're fueled on humans. Allegedly.
Yeah, I wonder if they just took his character from Sorry to Bother You and like maybe that's his real persona.
Yeah,
or
that's
something.
actually who he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Which- excellent movie, by the way.
So, Barrett, do you like this film, The Social Network?
I sort of I didn't think I did, mainly just because I'm not a fan of the subject matter. I was almost kind of thinking through the movie, why couldn't they take this talent and put it towards something cooler or something? Because what Trent Reznor did the soundtrack. It's this sort of
Wait, isn't he from
strange
a rock
talent
band?
pool.
Yeah, he's 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah,
dude.
9 Inch
Okay.
Nails. But yeah, so but I did enjoy it. I would say like you said, Dave, just the pacing was just so fast. It was just so palatable. How could you not kind of just be taken?
It was a quick,
taken
easy
on the
meal.
ride?
Yeah, you couldn't.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because
Yeah.
I had so much going on this week that I was like, I'm gonna try to watch the first. I told my wife, I said I'm gonna watch the first 30 minutes of Social Network. I've got
Right,
a
but
little downtime.
you watched the whole
I
thing,
watched the
right?
whole freaking thing. I
Yeah,
literally,
yeah,
it's
it's
you
so
can't
easy
put
to
it
watch
down.
the whole thing.
Yeah, you.
It was
can't
kind
put
of
it
like
down.
the pacing of it was kind of the perfect movie pacing for our generation. The opposite of what was happening in 2001: A Space Odyssey, of the 1960s slow roll of everything. This is
Right.
I felt like it was intelligent and interesting and fast paced. Most of the time we just get the fast paced part and just loud noises and boom whips, and then no story,
Right.
and then
Right.
somehow
But it was thoughtful,
it's nice. It's nice to get a thoughtful movie, whether it's good or not.
There's
It's
a
debatable
lot of
whether you
thoughtless
like it.
crap coming out right now. So,
Dude, a lot.
compared to the last year of going to the cinema, I was like, oh, this movie's deep, which is a sad state of affairs, to be honest with you. There's been a lot of garbage. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I'm looking at you, or whatever that new garbage.
The next
Carrie
one.
liked
Yeah.
that thing, by the way.
Dude,
It's so
here's
bad.
first off, I don't think I've watched any of the Indiana Joneses all the way through ever in my
The
life.
first couple were
So this
great.
is
Wow.
maybe the Crystal Skull I watched whenever 15 years ago.
Yeah,
when
whatever that
one
new
came
one
out.
was. I can't remember what it was called this year.
The one with Shia LaBeouf.
The one where
That was
Um,
Crystal Skull. Yeah, that was
The one
But
where
the new
it
one
was
was
way too
okay.
much animation.
Like, it was-
Wheel
it was-
or something.
it was-
Wheel of Time. Was it?
I
I don't know.
Yeah, the
Destiny,
Dial of
something.
Destiny.
Dial
it
of
was,
Destiny.
it was palatable. It was
Dial of
candy
diarrhea.
that I could at least eat. Sometimes it's so sweet and so just dumb that I don't know. I can't get into it.
Yeah.
It was,
I mean, that's fair. I
it was
like
dumb
tons
for
of
me,
movies like
and
that.
I like dumb movies. But I don't know.
Because I'm taking your perspective, not having watched any Indiana Jones movie. I would probably watch this and probably enjoy it. I don't just like you said, in the same kind of way.
You've not watched the old ones, or you have, Barrett?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah, no, honestly, the
definitely
thing
big
that
fan.
got to me is it's another example of them taking some character that I love and making him kind of useless. Like they did to Luke
Right.
Skywalker, like they did to Han Solo, and now Indiana Jones is old.
I feel like it's very simple
and
to take.
emo.
It's very. I don't know if it's simple, but I feel like you could just make another treasure hunter kind of movie with a new character, and then take it wherever you want to take it. But there definitely was no need to. I don't know.
Well, it really is just a problem for me of them just making all my heroes losers. Like they keep doing it.
Yeah.
They keep doing it.
Let's go back to to another one.
Keep him
Let's
cool.
bring them out of the.
Hey, remember how much you loved Luke Skywalker? Well, he's just gonna suck milk out of an alien's nipple and then die. Enjoy Star Wars Episode 17. Great.
Yeah. That's why you gotta love the really, really far off obscure stuff. I mean, like Blade Runner, for example, somehow missed that. I'm sure one day, honestly, the Blade Runner franchise will probably get
ruined.
It'll get made into like a
miniseries,
franchise thing, animated series bought by Amazon.
Yeah,
done to some giant thing. Like it'll get really popular, and suddenly people will say, "Wow."
Yeah,
like Blade Runner. Have you seen this?
Like a cult movie that's
for now. It's like
you need a cult movie that's not quite popular enough for them to invest money in and reboot. Like think of a David Fincher movie. Like I could imagine they could do a modern take. I don't know, a modern take on Fight Club. And I'm surprised they haven't, because Fight Club was.
Yeah.
I mean, for anybody that's our age, was
the
iconic. Like everybody, I remember back in the day, everybody's like, "Did you see Fight Club? We gotta go."
It was all of our favorite
Fight Club
movies
all the time.
Everybody.
It was all of our favorite movies for at least a little while. Like we all had at least
when
a
you're
month
17, 18, you're like, yeah. And then once you're actually in a street fight, which I never was
it was
in,
just
but I would
such a mind
imagine
job.
I would run.
It was such a mind job too. Like you're like, what? Just that and Memento.
Yeah, it was one of those.
twisted my head.
Memento.
Yeah, that was another one. No, okay, so I wanted to talk for a second about the Justin Timberlake character.
Yeah.
The guy is really interesting, and I think that no matter what his flaws are, he did a huge amount for Zuckerberg. And when I looked online, like that's real. Like he really did figure out about Facebook just randomly, got in contact with Zuckerberg, and took Zuckerberg from what would have probably been a few millionaire to one of the richest men in the world. Literally all because of himself. And I think it was mostly done out of selfish intent as well. Like he wanted a little piece of the pie, but the guy's kind of a genius.
Saw an opportunity.
He's definitely
I mean, it seems like he's a person who, in his position, he's probably in a quite unique position to be able to see something that only he or people, in a very small group could see something like that kind of playing out. And he's like, well, I may as well reach out because I'm one of the only people who's going to be able to see this kind of pattern emerging or whatever.
You also got to realize, like in the last decade or so, there's been shows on TV about kind of like angel investors, like Shark Tank basically is about angel investing basically, and it's become more of a mainstream thing. But much like sports or whatever, these guys take a lot of swings. They have a lot of vision, but you can go look at his Wikipedia page, Sean Parker, and he's had a couple things he's delved in the last 15 20 years that haven't been as big, you know what I mean? And I'm sure there's probably maybe 50 other projects that he invested in, I'm sure, that didn't go anywhere. I think if you have enough foresight like he did and enough money to play around with, you could just get in and you take your bets basically, and then one of them may pay off.
That's what a lot of those guys
do. It is amazing like how much influence a person like that can have, like just the timing of it, the intent, and the result.
But here's the thing. Based on that movie, look, I remember thinking how bad it was for Eduardo the first time I saw it 13, 14 years ago when it came out. But looking back on it, I don't know if this is how I was supposed to feel, but I was like, I didn't feel so bad for Eduardo because where the hell was he? He wasn't really doing it. He was just gone the whole time.
No, I think they wanted you to.
He wasn't building anything. I mean, he was trying to get ad deals.
Him because he was the kind of person who, like, he's that parent who just throws money at their kids, not time. And it's not a good way to do a company, right? Like you may like keep the company afloat and keep them, fat and happy, but you're not actually nurturing the company. Just like, again, let's get an analogy that I just.
He didn't really have a vision per se. He was just trying to.
He just said, "Oh, I like this guy. He's my friend. He probably can help me make more money. So let's just keep feeding him cash, and hopefully it turns into something, right?" And that's the role he played. But I think you're right, Carrie. It was very obvious that his lack of being there when they're actually over there trying to meet.
Yeah, I
angel
felt like
investors and
it
stuff.
could have been a totally different scenario if he had just been there. Like maybe Sean Parker never would have got so close to them.
Could have been 50-50.
Because he just was AWOL the whole time.
Yeah, it could have been a 50-50 thing instead. But the fact that
the movie obviously played that up, but totally,
read your contracts you're signing when you're dealing with a multi-million-dollar company. Read your contracts.
But it wasn't it was a $500,000 company at the time. It's still a lot of money.
Dude, I'd read it on like a $500 company. So do it on $500,000. Gosh, read a contract.
I'd ask Chat
Take it to
GPT
somebody
to read it for me. Is what I would do.
There you go. Ask the AI. We trust the AI. The AI is our friend, and we will do whatever it tells us within reason.
I asked the AI to ask some questions to us about the social network that we could discuss. I thought it would be, I'm trying to involve the AI
I like it.
as part of our
the fourth
show.
member of the podcast.
So it said, depiction of technology. How accurately does the film portray the world of technology, startups, and entrepreneurship? What elements are exaggerated for dramatic effects, and what rings true? To me, I feel like it did a really good job.
Because it was trying, and it's David Fincher. He's like really meticulous with those sorts of details.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. But it leads into the next question: the role of social media. In what ways does the film comment on societal and cultural impact of Facebook on social media in general? Has the perception of social media changed since the film release?
I think it's just become more and more what they were talking about, because I think there was a line in the movie where it said like, we used to live on farms, we used to live in cities, now we're going to live on the internet.
That's when he was doing cocaine off the lady's stomach.
Yeah, but sometimes the most beautiful sonnets are written when you're on cocaine, as you can tell. But I feel like that's, very much true for the work I do, and I think the work you do, Dave, like that we're doing. Like, I live on my phone and on the internet and doing my
I've
work
hung out
from
with
it.
You. I barely see his eyes. His eyes are always on his phone. So
you're not much different. So
you're right. No, I would say, but I don't know. I don't know if anyone could have realized how huge of a role social media could play in the next 13 years since this came out.
No,
it's definitely like branched out in ways that we're definitely not thinking about at the time.
And we still couldn't predict 10 years from now, I don't think.
I don't feel like so much that we're like living in the internet, but the internet, much like the symbiote suit for Venom or whatever, is just entangling itself within us to the point where we'll probably just have like some chip in our head that we can just project stuff with. I don't know. But like, it just feels like it's becoming a part of us in a weird way.
Yeah.
Like who we are.
That's the goal of it, right? It's sort of like just connected deeper and deeper. Using a phone and reading texts and whatnot is like way slower than it will be to have, like you said, the chip in your brain or whatever.
Yeah, or like a contact lens or something.
Yeah, it might not be that intrusive, but like the general idea,
Whenever people say that sort of crap, I just have to laugh, because like no one wants someone putting a chip in their head.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking too. I'm like,
I don't really want brain surgery for technology. I'm cool.
Every time I think about it, I'm like, so right, it's gonna be a Bluetooth 2.0 whatever LE.
It's gonna be like, do you remember those Lister
today's chip that gets in your brain and then once it becomes out of date, sorry, their firmware is no longer made for your thing that's permanently in your brain.
Do you remember back in the day? This is our era. The Listerine strips that you would put in your mouth.
They still make them.
Dissolve.
They still make them.
They still make them.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be something like that. People still don't want to put stuff in their body.
Think about it. Like people always say this. They're going to have you put like a chip in your hand or your finger to pay for things and all that stuff. And I'm like, why just walk it right now? They have a thing at Universal. They just added Universal Studios. It literally just looks at your face, confirms you're you, and you walk in. You don't have to put a chip in your body or anything like that. And when you want to pay, you just use your little fingerprint. Boop. I've paid. Like, I don't need a chip. I don't need surgery. Literally just boop. So they're going to find a way to do these sorts of things without actually hurting your physical body. But who knows?
Well, certain things, yeah. Certain things like you and I telepathically communicating. We can't do that unless we have some kind of, right? Like, I probably don't either. Exactly. Like all these kind of questions are sort of like questions looking for an answer. It seems like a lot of the time, but
that is.
But it'll be like nano machines though. I got is my Deus Ex up here?
Yeah.
This game, it'll be nano machines. I feel like that's the future.
Like cyberpunk style, like combination of Android.
Right. Yeah, they get so small that.
Yeah.
They're 2 nanometers, 3 nanometers. The silicon wafers are getting down to.
Insert it with like a a needle or something. People get tattoos after all, so who knows? Do you have any tattoos?
Yeah, like the thing in Neo in the Matrix. No, I don't have tattoos. No.
Dude, we're the no tattoo show.
Yeah, the no tattoo crew.
Let's rename the podcast the no tattoo.
It has nothing to do with movies. No tattoo crew.
Okay, realism versus fiction. How much artistic license did the filmmakers take in portraying the real life events surrounding Facebook's founding? I don't know. What did you think, Carrie? Because I Googled it. It seems like they did a good job.
I imagine there was a little bit of artistic license with how they portrayed Mark, because they portrayed him as super bad. And obviously, I think based on the research I remember doing back in the day, is like the whole relationship thing is just a way to move the story along. I don't think there's any actual...
That's like the true motivation.
I think that was just used as a story device, basically. There's no real like knowledge about that or whatnot. But... I think they probably, because when you're telling a story, it's just storytelling 101, kind of like a bad guy and a good guy, and they kind of made him out to be the bad guy in this, and he may very well have been. But I think the truth is probably much more gray. There is probably a lot of good, a lot of bad, and it wasn't as interesting as they made it.
Well, the way it seems is he tells the Winklevoss twins, I'm going to make your app. Their app was basically Facebook, but not quite as good. It was a Harvard connection. And then he leads them on, it seemed like just so they wouldn't make progress so he could come out with it first, right? Like that's
that's how they portrayed it. He could have just been debating it the whole time. The guy hacked that whole system in a couple hours at the start of the movie. He might have just decided at the very end, I'm just going to do it myself, forget it. It might not have been... They definitely portrayed it like that, but it could have been something he decided towards the end. Yeah. He might, he just
I tend to agree with you. I think it is probably just something more boring and gray area,
Because it looked like just the dirtiest, like, Silicon Valley move that you could possibly make. Like, he looked like such a douchebag.
But did he have... he didn't have an NDA or like he didn't have any contract with these people.
No.
So even if he did something that was dirty, that's what's done in business all the time, right?
And just on top of that, just the fact that he's fine running a site where you're rating people against one another. I think if you're cool with that, then you're already
he already has low scruples.
You've broken some sort of barrier, in my mind.
That's true.
Yeah, he was already okay stealing, data from all of these sites and then exploiting the people on the sites, which is
right. Whether or not the dialogue that he said in those scenes is like accurate or not, I guess the text that he wrote were accurate.
But the intentions,
But yeah, the intent is the result of his actions.
The whole movie kind of showed that too, that he was super intelligent but also fairly impulsive. So I could see it being him not leading them on, possibly. They could have played that angle. It wouldn't have been very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. He might have just like, well, I changed my mind, and I'm just going to do this instead.
Well, and he wasn't very like self-aware, right? Like he didn't really. Yeah. He
was
really
definitely
trying to
right. It's not like he had the foresight to do this whole
low
thing.
Emotional intelligence, low EQ, or whatever.
Who it reminded me of, and this is irrelevant to the conversation because no one knows him, but Jeffrey. It reminded me of Jeffrey Barrett. The whole time I couldn't help but think of our friend Jeffrey, who is not like he's not a jerk, but as far as
Jeffrey's
intelligence, as far as intelligence level though, like someone who's so intelligent that you almost feel dumb just talking to them. It's one of those ideas. Yeah. So I don't know. I thought he seemed horrible. Like a horrible person, and I have to wonder, like, is he cool with this movie? Like, was he mad about this movie?
Yeah, I
think he's talked about it post the movie. I don't know if embraced it's the right word, but I think he's acknowledged it and
accepted it. Or something.
Accepted it is probably the word for it.
I'm gonna ask ChatGPT.
Let's see his reaction.
Because it was so right about the 2001 scene
touch on that. So remember, Carrie,
remember
last week we were talking about how 2001 Space Odyssey, the monkey scene was shot on location versus on set, and Barrett had said on set, ChatGPT said on location. Tell us what you learned, Barrett.
So the reason it said that it was shot on location is because they got location shots, but Kubrick did not travel to the location. He
was
sent
actually
a crew
afraid of
to
airplanes.
Film. Say again?
He was actually afraid of flying.
Oh, he's afraid. Yeah, exactly. He was afraid
anywhere.
of flying. Right. So
the shape of airplanes frightened him.
Method. I guess after filming Strangelove, maybe he was afraid of them. But anyway, he sent a crew to film the background plates, but he totally filmed that thing on a set. The monkeys. Anytime you see the monkeys running around, like they are on a set.
So would they?
It's insane the level of meticulousness and kind of innovation that went behind it, because they invented the world's, I think, like biggest front projection like screen or whatever to get the brightness up high enough. It was this like just a crazy process. But anyway,
it's pretty insane. Looking like that whole movie 2001 is just like, I can't believe it was filmed in 1968.
So
I mean,
bad.
it had to have blown people's minds. I mean, it's
well,
better.
It was filmed in
almost
'65.
Was
so
it?
It's like,
oh my god.
Right, well, yeah. So it's crazy. Yeah, like to your point.
Yeah.
I feel like what would be the next thing after that would even be comparable? Star Wars, possibly.
Yeah, Star Wars.
And that's a good 10-year jump at least.
I mean, really, it's almost everything in Star Wars is derivative of what they.
And it's a lot of modeling.
It's already done in 2001, and in a lot of ways, like less detail. I mean, like they didn't use the same film stock. It doesn't seem like. I'm not sure about the details, but it certainly seems like the film print quality of 2001 is just like, I don't know.
What's crazy is that 2001 got the no
master.
sound in space thing right, and then Star Wars didn't all those years later. How'd that happen?
But again, it's a space opera. It's like not trying to be 2001. If George Lucas wanted to make the quintessential whatever great science fiction film, which like THX is a really cool sci-fi film.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it deserves a lot of credit.
Was that a Lucas joint?
Really, yeah. I mean THX.
I've never seen that.
It's really neat.
Okay.
And I feel like if he were to go in that direction, he probably could have made something, similar-ish maybe to 2001.
The difference.
I would have loved to have seen what he would have made, in like an alternate universe, like where he wasn't trying to make kind of the.
Well, he was trying to make a popcorn movie that people would watch.
Popular movie.
You're not,
exactly.
If you're just a random, dude in the Midwest, you're probably going to connect a lot more with the Wild West space show of Star Wars than it is with the trippy, very, very beautiful 2001 Space Odyssey. I think that's a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think I'm sure he learned that like going through making American Graffiti, and like no one's watching, no one's asking for a sequel to that or whatever. So he's like, well, okay. Let's make Star Wars. And like he used all the kind of the hero's journey thing, it's like it's very specifically kind of crafted in that way to be palatable.
Barrett, I was in an auction Carrie was running, and someone was in the comments saying, or it might have been my auction, saying, I have to watch 2001 Space Odyssey before your next episode comes out. So I thought that was kind of cool, right?
We got a couple people following along.
Yeah.
That's a great influence. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Now we're going to make them watch The Social Network. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg, the co-founder and CEO of Facebook, has expressed mixed feelings about the film Social Network.
I would hope.
Which is a fictionalized account of the early days of Facebook's creation. So it's literally called a fictionalized account, which means none of it could be true. It could literally all be fake.
Based on a true story, right?
Yeah, like it's fictionalized.
Which means nothing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can base something off a true story and everything in that is not to the story at all.
It says, while he has not been publicly angry about the movie, he has mentioned in interviews that he found the film's portrayal of events and characters to be inaccurate and dramatized for entertainment purposes. So, for all we know, they never told him anything, the Winklevoss twins. Like, you don't know.
Yeah,
it's crazy to think. So
I mean, exactly. Do you I guess the question is like, did the director ask? Like, did he talk with these people directly? I kind of doubt it. Also, so how did this go down?
It's based on a book. Did you know it's based on a book called The Accidental Billionaires? It's based on a book. I did not read this book. I did not. It sounded boring. It's not sci-fi. I like sci-fi.
Here's the thing, though. Like the Winklevoss twins. Their strengths are it feels like are different than Mark's strengths. Mark built this company. Yeah. He's a technical person. He's probably not he's gotten better over the years. He does get a lot of crap for how he presents things and everything, but that might not be his strong point, to be able to tell his story in a really compelling and engaging way. Whereas the Winklevosses, if you've seen them in interviews and stuff, they're very much adept at being able to convey what they want.
They're showmen.
Because yeah, well, I mean, and they're also that's just a different strength they have that's different than what Mark's strengths are. So they have a kind of a leg up being able to tell their side of the story, I feel like. Obviously the story's more interesting is, him being the bad guy, I think. You know what I mean? And people tend to go to the easiest, angle typically.
But this is why Silicon Valley like is such a good show. I think Silicon Valley, like I almost like it better than The Social Network. It's a longer series, and they
can get really in depth.
They get really in depth into this whole idea of like how it works in Silicon Valley, and a lot of these same questions and backstabbing and all this other stuff come up, stakes and shares and investors and new IP and ideas, and like the Hooli Google company that he shoots down the $10 million from, they say, fine, we're just going to make it ourselves. And now it's this race to who can make it sooner and faster, and that would be like Facebook versus the Harvard connection. So if you enjoy, like, if you watch this for the first time, you're like, oh my gosh, I love that movie, you should go watch Silicon Valley. Like, really, you should. And what's cool is Richard Hendricks is the main character of Silicon Valley, but it's played by Thomas Middleditch. I looked him up. But on his side is TJ Miller, that comedian guy, Erlich Bachman. And so Erlich Bachman is like he's the Winklevoss, right? But they actually work together, and like he actually is like the one who can go sell and pitch the product. He's basically the Napster guy in the Facebook movie. Sean, what was his name? Sean Miller?
Sean Parker.
Sean Parker. I'm really bad with names. So TJ Miller is the Sean Parker, and then Thomas Middleditch is the Jesse Eisenberg or the Mark Zuckerberg. Like, it's literally the show is the movie. But it's, got a lot more comedy in it, and it's not as fast-paced. But I will say, like, if you enjoyed The Social Network, you will love Silicon Valley. And it is.
And then when you're done with those...
Right?
It is Mike Judge, yes.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, which it's always
That's
a
nice.
stamp of...
When you're done with those, when you're done with this movie and you're done with Silicon Valley, cleanse your palate with The Mighty Ducks 2, the finest movie ever created.
Night at the Roxbury as well.
Coach Bombay.
Yeah, that whole shaving cream scene is cinematography. I have a Mighty Ducks poster.
I still want to rollerblade in the mall, in that biggest mall in the world, just because of that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay, so
that'd be cool.
So watch Silicon Valley. Okay, and I will say I plan on watching before we record the next episode, just so people know, because we like to talk about other things we're watching. So if you want to try to stay on top of what I'm about to watch, I know I'm going to see the movie Thanksgiving with my brother, which is like a slasher film around Thanksgiving. Okay, and then I'm also definitely going to see the new Hunger Games movie. Carrie, you'll probably see that too. Barrett, I don't think.
Oh yeah, and then Napoleon, whenever that comes.
I'm not going to see the new Hunger Games movie, but I will see the new David Fincher movie.
What's
I think called The Killer or something like that.
Okay, that's coming out in theaters.
I was kind of thinking when I think it's in theaters. I just heard of it just the other day. But
I might go see that too then.
I think it's called The Killer.
Yeah, 2023.
But again, I don't like watching trailers, so I sort of.
I have heard that Five Nights at Freddy movie that you did see, Dave, has been a pretty big success.
I called that. Yeah, I called that. Dude, I'm telling you, it's already... And someone put that in our comments for our last episode, too. They said... I think it was Liz, Nerdy Pickers. She basically said, her daughter's watching it every day on Paramount+. Literally, because it's nostalgia for her. She played that when she was like 5 to 10 years old. Now she's 16 or 15, and it's like that isn't. It's so weird how early people get nostalgia.
Is that the new Halloween every year movie? Is that the new Halloween, the new Saw? That just every year they produce a new one for 10 years or whatever.
I really think it is. I think it's going to do so well.
Start of something.
Yeah. Okay, so I might
go. Avengers.
Carrie, we should go see. We should go see that Fincher film too. That'd be good. We could.
Yeah, I'm down.
Show. Yeah, I'll probably go see it too, Barrett, because I'm looking for stuff to watch. I'm going on vacation next week, and I'm gonna probably see quite a few things. I'm gonna see Thanksgiving. Now, I'm a Hunger Games. Like I liked the books a lot, except for book 3, and I did read this Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's actually really a good book. This Hunger Games.
It's a prequel, correct?
It's a prequel, yeah. So you remember like the bad guy who's always wearing the white suit and giving her the red flower? Yeah. It's him as a kid participating in the very first Hunger Games, where he has to actually be like the trainer for one of them.
I don't know what it is about our generation, but I love these like battle royale style like death matches.
The movie,
I don't know if
the Japanese movie was good. What was that?
That's what I'm saying. Battle Royale. That's kind of like the 2001 one that kind of inspired a lot of all this. Yeah. But I love all that stuff. I don't know if you've seen like Alice in Borderland.
No.
Which is a
I remember seeing the trailer for that.
It's similar. Squid Games. I mean, it's all in the same basic genre. Games. Me too. So, I mean, I love these kind of movies. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Just how would you... I'm pretty sure, like, I think of, like, the second Hunger Games where they start in the water, and they're running to the middle.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I would just find a way to drown because I'm not a great swimmer. I don't even think I'd get murdered. I would just tip over on accident and then not be a strong enough swimmer.
But yeah, so I'm definitely
I
going
would
to see
be
that
done.
because my daughter loves Hunger Games as well. I've read the book. This new book's a great book, so I'm really looking forward to that one. So there's some stuff we will be watching. As I've stated, I have not been watching much other than reruns of The King of Queens while trying to go to bed. Have you guys been watching anything recently?
No, we watched the Curse of Oak Island.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
our-
dude,
our,
that show
trash
drives me
TV of the
nuts.
week. That's
like,
awful,
we'd watch
but
it
it's
all.
awesome.
It's awful awesome. Like, it just drives me nuts because it's always like, it's always got that, oh, like something's about to happen. We're about to find it. And just they never find it ever. And you, after like the 500th episode, you're just like, they didn't find anything. I know they didn't.
We've like made up all these like backstories for all the characters and stuff like that. And it's all just weird narratives. I don't know. It's gotten to a weird point.
I haven't, no.
Oh my gosh, it's like
It's
the totally
just,
it's like
know,
Storage
treasure
Wars.
hunter.
Yeah, it's like the Storage Wars,
Yeah.
but like way over the top. Like, oh my gosh, are they still making new episodes?
Yes.
How is
Season
it?
11.
They're never finding anything. Ever.
11 years
Oh
later.
my gosh.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like those. It's like
treasure
the
is
ghost.
down.
It's like the Ghost Patrol shows or whatever. Like, there's never a ghost.
Yeah.
Could you imagine how
But
big
I
it would
also
be if they
love
found a
those
ghost?
shows too.
Yeah.
I want
Right,
just
right.
find a ghost. I would love that.
Yeah.
We're rooting for you to find a ghost. Like, I believe they're there somewhere, but it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like Aliens. It's like everybody's seen one, but nobody's ever really caught it on film.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the power of something that's elusive,
Mm-hmm.
Like we all are just like there, ready to see it, even though it's 11 years later,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like logically, like this is not gonna.
Do you think, really quick, back on the social network, do you think that the Napster guy really is the one who said take away the word "the" in Facebook? Because it was called the Facebook, and then it got.
I would
they
be
gave him
surprised
credit.
if that wasn't true. I would.
That's so specific.
Yeah, that's such a specific thing. Yeah, they made this whole point of it and everything.
Yeah.
Like, if that's not accurate, then it's like, well, then.
But theoretically, would it
maybe.
not have worked if it was the Facebook? I don't know. I mean, like, we look back
It probably
knowing that
would've
it's the
fine.
Facebook rather, but I don't think it would have made that much of a difference.
I mean, it's Google. It's called Google.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know.
nonsense. Like, that doesn't even make any sense.
Did you notice that Andrew Garfield seems to not age in any way? Like, he looks
I did notice
exactly like that.
I was like, yeah, he's the
13
same
years later.
guy. Like, right? Wasn't he like 13 years old at the time?
I had to
It's
look. I'm like, is this the same Andrew Garfield? Is this his older brother? Yeah. Like, I
Right,
couldn't even
right.
figure it out, but he literally looks exactly the same. It's
yeah, he
weird.
was in this movie Mainstream, like really recently.
Yeah, he looks exactly
somewhat
the
recently,
same.
and he looks the same guy. Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he was in the
Impressive
Spider-Man,
genes.
the newer Spider-Man, and he looked pretty much the same
Yeah.
as he
Same,
did in the
yeah.
original Spider-Man. But this really took his. I mean, everybody's career was kind of catapulted after this. That was
Yeah.
in this.
Well,
True,
what did Jesse
true.
Eisenberg
Because-
do other than Zombieland?
Well, he was Lex Luthor or whatever. Like, he did movies.
Well,
he was in
other things. Like
he was in the
you know,
magic
like-
show where they were doing magic
Ooh, I
tricks
did
or
like
whatever. I
that
forgot.
one, kind of.
And that was semi-popular.
those.
Now You See Me, but I
not
mean,
the
like,
right
he was
one.
in some
That's
stuff
not the
that
right one.
people spent money on, like to make.
the one I liked
and
was
then
Hugh Jackman
Andrew
Magic One.
Garfield was in a lot, and then Armie Hammer. They spent a lot of money on that Lone Ranger that was terrible that nobody liked. I mean, like, he was in a
yeah,
lot of stuff
right.
too.
Hey, what happened to the
Yeah.
guy who was with the Winklevoss twins? What was his name?
Oh yeah, yeah. Just like,
Is
I
he
don't even
real?
know who
Like,
he
is
is.
is he rich now too? What was his?
I meant to look him up. I don't know exactly who that is.
Yeah, is it Dustin Moskovitz? Well, and they
No,
underplayed Dustin
they didn't
Moskovitz,
Very much so.
Like, he was a
like he was
big part of
barely
it.
in the start, and that was it.
and he was like, right? Yeah, he was basically 1/3 owner of the thing, honestly. And I don't really even know. He was just a programmer.
Yeah, I think he was more technical. Maybe that's just not as sexy, you know.
Do you even remember him, Barry?
101111.
There's no drama. Yeah, I've never heard the name.
Literally,
so
he was like
it's
a
kinda-
main part of the founding of Facebook, and he was in the film, but they like underwrote him so much that you didn't even realize. Like, he was one of the people who got shares. Remember, they're sitting there like, you get 30%,
Okay.
he gets 50,
Yeah,
7. Dustin was one of those people that they said 7% goes to Dustin. Like,
What I found most interesting
Weird.
about this is this came out before the original Purge, and this is kind of a prequel of the world that was created later to become the Purge, I feel.
what? Wait, I'm missing the
Yeah, it
connection.
lays the groundwork.
Barrett
Destroy
knows.
society.
Barrett feels what I'm putting down.
I haven't even seen the
Dystopian.
Purge, but I got you.
He knows what I'm saying.
Oh, it's Divya.
the start of the
Divya
dystopian world.
Narendra is the guy's name.
How rich is he? How much more money than us does he have?
He has 80 million. He's kind of the loser of the crew.
That's 80 more million than I have. That is 80 more million than I have.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's time, guys. I think it's time to figure out what we're watching next week. Let me share my screen here, and let's find out what.
And I guess before that,
yeah.
it's worth saying how decent of a job ChatGPT did at doing what we asked it, right? Where it was sort of like give us the opposite.
We didn't even say that. We didn't even say that.
Yeah.
Well, didn't we?
No, we literally just said pick the next movie.
I thought we did ask what was like the opposite movie of 2001.
Look, this is it.
Sure?
We were thinking about that, but then it gave us one we were okay
that's
with.
right,
I think, yeah.
When creating a YouTube thumbnail, I asked it what the thumbnail should be for the episode. I'm literally getting ChatGPT to do all the work for me, by the way.
So, have you heard about YouTube's new regulations?
No, what is it?
So, there are some interesting new regulations that are very relevant to us with this podcast that you basically are going to have to disclose if you're using AI. I'm hearing.
Really?
Yeah. If you and I'm hearing some interesting takes on it. Someone was saying that it could be because like Google wants to not train its AI on AI generated content, so that it doesn't create this recursive AI loop of sort of nonsense or whatever potentially.
Would that be more towards AI created? Like, because we're doing everything's within the podcast. I mean, even when they're helping us AI, we're still creating the content per se.
Yeah. I just think it's like if it touches it at all is what I was reading. Is I could be kind of misrepresenting what I read, but it sounded like if you use it in any way, like a thumbnail, for example, was one of the things I read, that if you use an AI thumbnail, it would put it in a classification.
Yeah.
But
we're doing that, so we are using
we're doing
thumbnails.
That.
So Barrett, look, we said we need you to pick the movie for our next episode, and it said certainly for the next episode, Social Network. Literally, we just said it. Yeah, pick the next movie. So I think we just do it again. Okay, it's time to pick the movie for our next episode.
Such a funny.
Should I tell it that it does not need to be critically acclaimed? It still only picked critically acclaimed films.
That's true.
I'm going to tell it it doesn't need to be.
I feel like some guide rails might be nice to start implementing, but I don't know.
Now we're gonna get like something super not
gonna
critical.
be
We're gonna get like what's that one Air Bud.
Air Bud, yeah. It will take it too literally.
What if I do it this way?
You're right about that.
It does not need to be critically acclaimed, but it can be if that's what you prefer for this one.
That's fine. Let's give it an open door.
Give it it's ChatGPT's choice. Let's see what it says.
Yeah.
I love this moment. This moment's so exciting.
This is actually
exciting.
pretty good. It's compelling.
Oh, The Big Lebowski.
I've never seen that. It's on Netflix too. I thought about watching that, actually.
Okay.
Gosh, man, it's some good movies.
Let's pick a movie that can be both interesting to discuss and doesn't necessarily have to be critically acclaimed. How about reviewing the cult classic, The Big Lebowski?
The critically acclaimed The Big Lebowski?
It just is critically, yeah.
No, it says cult classic. It doesn't say critically. I don't think it was critically acclaimed.
I don't know if it was critically.
Not.
Yeah, probably
It
wasn't.
is a classic, though, and I have seen it, but a long time ago, so I don't really remember it. This film has a dedicated fan following and has become a cult classic over the years, making it a fun choice for discussion. Quirky characters, features memorable cast, humor and absurdity, themes of identity, Coen brothers style, and cinematic references. Explore the numerous cinematic and cultural references embedded in this film. Reviewing The Big Lebowski.
How to make it sound as boring as possible.
It can be fun and entertaining experience for your podcast as it allows you to delve into the film's humor, characters, and unique storytelling. Blah-de, 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 blah.
It sounds like an old trailer, like a 1940s trailer that just tells you how the movie is. It tells you how you're going to feel when you watch it.
You're gonna be part of the Fuddy Duddies.
Yeah, you're gonna cry.
It still is like an iconic film. Like it's gonna just always pick the most iconic films. I feel like, which is not a terrible
this
thing.
is another.
Have we found AI's biggest weakness?
Yeah, it's
is that it has
by the internet.
It's so influenced by itself.
it's AIception, basically. That's going to be its next recommendation, is Inception. Okay, so I like The Big Lebowski. I remember enjoying it, so I think a lot of people enjoy it. Carrie, you've never seen it.
I've never seen it, so I'm actually.
Have you?
Literally thought about that yesterday. I'm like, I should watch that. I almost thought about watching it last night, so that's interesting.
Barrett, you said you have seen it a few times.
Yeah.
I've only seen it once.
Big fan.
You're a big fan. Okay, all right. I would have preferred Kingpin, but I'll take this one. They both have bowling.
Coen brothers, right? That's Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure.
There Will Be
what
Blood.
Else. They've done a lot of big. Oh, I
Yeah, a lot
love
of-
There Will Be Blood. That might be my favorite movie ever, by the way.
I don't know if they made
Because
that.
there
I don't
did
know
in
if
fact
they
end
made
up
that up.
being.
That's called Thomas Anderson. Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind. But the best part, there actually was indeed blood.
Yeah.
That's true. There was indeed.
Is that the
blood.
one that I
They
called
should
you because I
change.
was so raging, Carrie, when they randomly
might have
killed off
been.
the guy without showing it? Was that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yep, that
ticked
was,
me off.
yeah.
In the hotel.
Yeah, you can't get past those like little
I
things.
can't.
Like,
They did No Country for Old Men. Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
No
of.
Country for Old Men.
That's-
no, that was that was the one
That's
I always
Coen
mix up
Brothers,
with
yes.
it, even though they're different.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyways,
They also did the Lady Killers, which I'm sort of in the minority. I like that quite a bit, but it wasn't.
I like
really,
Fargo.
People didn't.
I never
dig
saw
that.
the Lady
they
Killers.
did
Tom
Fargo
Hanks?
was good.
Okay, Bad Santa.
Yeah, it's like
Big
a
fan of
weird-
Bad Santa. Raising
Oh
Arizona.
yeah, that's right. I forgot they did. Bad
They
Santa.
did a lot of
Raising
good stuff.
Arizona, that's a
Arizona.
classic.
Suburbicon was good too. It was weird, but it was good. All right, anyways, we're done. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you watch The Big Lebowski this week. Easy assignment.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
Enjoy.